Hey guys, it's me, Karen Ashley, Aisha the Yellow Power Ranger. Action activate.
Hi there, Power Ranger there. I am Gazbot, and with me as always is...
Big Dawg Defender.
That's right, we're here to talk about Action Activate. Well, no, we are Action Activate. We're here to talk about Power Rangers, specifically Beast Morphers, more specifically Beast Morphers Episode 9, more specifically Season 2, Episode 9, and of course the designation of Episode 9 is hotly debated because last episode apparently wasn't Episode 8, it's a special episode, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
This is technically Episode 8, similar to how they moved one.
I don't believe in that. Here's what I believe. This is the 9th episode we've watched this season. That's what I believe.
That's fair.
Okay.
I would mark it as Episode 8 because when I looked for Episode 9, thinking the way you were thinking, I had a hard time. So for everyone else, Episode 8 coming at you, coming through. Let's get it going.
Well,
initial thoughts, Gazbot.
I liked this episode quite a bit.
I liked it as well.
The only negative, like broadly speaking, is that it was a season ender, mid-season cliffhanger, whatever you want to call it. If I look at it in that lens, it's not that strong. But
Correct.
As an individual episode, I think it's strong.
Agreed.
And I hate that format, the way they break it up after 8 episodes and have months in between. I blame Nickelodeon. I could be right or wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's Nickelodeon. And I give that an F every time. I think it's just terrible. But I'm not going to hold that against the episode or the show, because I don't know. They shouldn't. This episode 8 or 9, however you want to do it, shouldn't have to be this crazy cliffhanger end of every. It shouldn't have to be that. It's just that, like the 8th or 9th episode, And as that, I liked it. All right.
I agree. I have some interesting notes that I'm excited to read verbatim.
Okay. Well, I do know that Steele was involved in this quite a bit, so maybe some of those notes might somewhat.
Oh, he's involved in some of them, but more just when I was going through this episode, I literally put my exact thoughts onto paper for my notes.
Right.
So some of them I'm just gonna read how first thought, best thought. Here's what I thought.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't make any paper notes. I only have mental notes.
Whoa. Well, you also have the images, which helps.
That's true. And the first image.
That's why I have to do notes.
True. The first image which is on screen is where we start with Nate building this new weapon. It's called, and the episode is called Secret Struggle, by the way. And Ben and Betty are looking at it. And because it has captions, I can tell you it's the Beast X King Saber. Beast X. King, I can't even read it. It's the Beast X King Spin Saber. Spin Saber. Spin Saber. I don't. It's tough because I'm the one that's like, I'm a fan of these big, crazy, convoluted names, but at the same time, I'm starting to have a hard time just saying them, even when I'm reading them.
The Lion Sword.
The Lion Sword, or the Spin Saber. Spin Saber rolls right off the tongue, but I'm torn about this weapon. I think it looks stupid. I think it looks like a big Nerf safety cone.
Correct.
But the way it's used, I think, is a fun kind of battle dynamic.
I agree. My notes were, I hope it's not a MacGuffin.
Oh, well,
I don't think it was.
No.
I think it was used. I don't think it was how are we possibly going to win? There's only one thing.
Yeah, no, but it definitely did. It was a convenient, new weapon, let's use it. You're right.
Yeah,
but
which I thought was fair.
Yeah. I haven't looked into it. I'm sure this is a toy, though. And I wonder if it was Go Busters or if it is just Beast Morphers, but that's the thing. It annoys me because it used to be you'd have a weapon in the show, whatever it was, and they'd make a toy of it. And maybe the toy had to have a rubber tip or be blue or not be accurate to the show. Then at some point, it started getting way more accurate to the show, and that was great. And I think what's happened now is because of certain safety things have rolled back again, it has to not look like so much like a real sword or whatever, but then they're making the sword on the show not look real. So it's this weird thing of like, I get wanting to make the products and the toys look like the show, but I feel like I'd rather it have like a silver blade or look like a real sword in some way, and then just, hey, you have to put the orange tip on it for the kids. Fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather it look cool in the show, and then, kids can use their imagination, adults could paint it, like, so, and, well, Ben and Betty are back this episode, right? And,
yes, so
yeah.
once again, giving credence to Betty is swinging the sword around like a freaking pro, man.
Yes.
I loved that part.
Yes.
I was like, just slap on one of the morphers and call it good. Whatever animal you need to give her, that's fine. Just make it happen.
Here's the animal. You know what animal? Do you want to take a guess what you think it should be, or what you think?
You're going to say frog because there's a frog sword.
Not at all. No, I'm not basing this on what is going to come or what is in Go Busters. I'm looking at this like, oh, I live in this universe and stuff. Tasmanian Devil, man.
That would be awesome.
She's just
actually.
all like, wow, what's going on? Yeah, I love. Like, she's just like Tasmanian Devil, and she gets the spin sword, and she just comes in like a little tornado. Yeah, and she like knocks people over, and then falls down, and she's like dizzy, like, whoa, let's do that again. Like it fits her whole personality, and so I knew this spin sword thing was just setting up for a gag, but like you, I was like, oh, she's doing a good job. It'd be awesome if this turns out to like be her weapon, like, and even if she uses it kind of comedically, like where she goes in and can like barely contain it, but is still like knocking off all the tronics.
Yeah, like, it's just like she's like drug around by it, like all near the door, and just like taking out all. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Continuously. Once again, we come back to, hey, let's have some comedic ranger ability, some comedic fighting ability that actually does something. But no, it spins around, and I'm like, oh no, is this going to become like a propeller? And it does. And Ben grabs on. Nate is smart enough to not grab on. Now, this is cartoony. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it as much as some other things, only because they're using this super technology, borderline magic Morphex weapon that maybe could actually move fast enough to pull her up. The more unbelievable part is that when they fall, they're like, hey, we're fine. But Ben and Betty are made out of rubber, apparently, so, I would put this at like mid-level for their gags. I didn't hate it.
I was neutral. The only reason I don't hate it is because they have had egregious ones in the past in season one.
Well, when I say mid-level, that's what I mean. I'm like, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was,
If you took it just for this season, it's on the lower end.
Yes.
But for the grand scheme of the show, it's mid-tier.
I will say this though, and this is not to slam them because I didn't think it was that bad, and her faces were great.
Yes.
I think this was the worst part of the whole episode.
There's probably a part I disliked more, but for now, I will agree with you.
Okay, and again, that's because I like this episode, not because this was so horrible. And maybe you'll remind me of something else I didn't like, but this was the only part I remember being like, that was okay,
Yeah, it's a weird like intro to start the show. They're like, here's this new weapon. Wow, Betty looks really cool. Oh,
no.
Gotta ruin it with a propeller gag. All right. Moving on.
There was a lot of good face acting though, from all three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my notes.
What does it say? Face acting?
No. The next part.
Oh, okay. So Steel comes in and he's like, "Hey, bro, can you help me out? The last time I tried to use my Scarab Sword, it almost bugged out on me."
Get it? And he's like, "Yeah, I understand puns.
Yeah.
I watch Action Activate. I hear puns weekly. Like, I get it. Okay."
Yeah. That was great. No, and he always makes those jokes, but the fact that he leaned into it and was like, ha ha ha, it's like as though, he heard us. It was like, oh, people like this. I better do it more and make sure they know.
Hasbro has put a tracker on us and records our audio, so I get it.
But they only fulfill like 3% of our demands.
I mean, if you think about it, if this is being vetted by a team, they're like, look, we can't use all the ideas. It's too obvious. We gotta pick and choose some,
right.
So there's still some allure.
And I guess they have to like be budget conscious too. So like giving Steel some more lines, that doesn't cost them anything. It's not the same as
they're
making
like,
suits
if
for
we
Ben
use
Betty.
this idea now, they'll know. If we use it toward the end of the season,
Right.
enough time will have passed where it seems like it could have been our own.
Smart Hasbro. So Nate's like, hey man, I'm sorry about that, but I've been working all day. I'm tired. I'll do it tomorrow. Then Zoe comes in and she's like, hey, my Zord needs to be checked out too. And he's like, right away, buddy.
He's like, I will stay up all night, whatever you want.
and I love the whole way this went is
Yeah.
Great. It's funny and it makes sense. So many times we've complained like, why would they say that and this and that, blah blah blah. But yeah, like the way Steele, like in his usual, like very straightforward and kind of naive self, he's like, I don't get it. I just asked Nate to work on my Zord. Why would he? Wait a minute. Like it was like that's exactly what should happen. I
Yes.
loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then he even goes like the like you, like, and he gets all goofy about it, and he's very endearing. And she's like, no, no, no. And it's funny because I have the subtitles on, and it's like awkward stuttering and like unconvincing like no's and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
But she picks up her bag, and out falls a magazine that's like what you do on your first date or whatever. And then she's like, okay, look, we do like each other, yes, but please don't tell anyone. And he's like, why not? Love is the best thing humans have. And she's like, yeah, but it's a rule we can't date, so we're not dating. We can't really do anything about it. And fair enough, because they saw what happened with Ravi and Roxy and everything. But what I love is that he's like, basically, he's like, sure, I won't tell anyone. And then he's like, I'm going to make love win. Like, yeah, he's just like,
I know.
like
He's so determined.
Yeah. It's like you knew. I knew this episode, at least the B plot was going to be him trying to make romance win. What I didn't expect was that it was pretty much the A plot, and I loved it. It was like, oh, also Evox is doing some stuff, and I guess there's a Megazord fight at some point. But like, Steele being the lovemaker is the point.
The thing that got me in this episode, and not trying to spoil too much as we go through it, is the last time Steele was a focal point in something, it was, oh, people need to follow rules and be punished when they break them.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that literally. Where this is like, hey, Steele, like, here's the thing. I get what you guys are saying, but love triumphs all, and I'm going to do what we know is best. And every time they're like, yes, Steele, you're right. Like, everything you did, like, yeah.
He's grown as a person. He's grown as a person.
Steele this episode was just so good.
Would you say that he has stolen the show?
Oh, Steele is the #1 person on this entire show.
So he is the type to steal the show. Yes.
When you said stole, it didn't work.
No, but I was setting you up so that you'd be like, oh, I guess he's not. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know where you're going. I was like, oh, got it. Well done.
Oh,
Thank you.
Victory. Revenge of the dish best served.
Grasshopper or a mantis is similar enough. You have learned well.
Rider kick. I have no shoes on.
Yeah. The more I think about it, like, I'm not going to say I loved everybody in this episode because some people just weren't really in it. Like, Ravi wasn't in it. I can't love him. I can't hate him. He was there. He wasn't like, yeah, they were like in parts, but they weren't like the focal point. But the other 3 Rangers, dude,
yes,
so great.
Very
so
good.
Great
Very
this
good.
episode.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep gushing about it. So
Roxy, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Before the Roxy part, part of the reason that Steele is all up on them liking each other is he finds a date magazine that Zoe's reading.
Yeah.
Or some magazine like, oh, things to do on a first date. Oh,
yeah.
And she clearly is thinking like, oh, like I need to figure out a secret way for us to date, which then plays into part of the episode. Now, you were saying about Roxy.
I don't agree. I don't think she was looking for a secret way to date. I think she had no intention of breaking the rules, but she figured at some point she was going to go on a date. Maybe when they retire, maybe when Evox is defeated, whatever, and she wanted to be prepared because maybe she hasn't gone on a lot of dates.
We can agree to disagree.
You think she was getting ready to break the rules?
I don't think she was getting ready to break the rules, but I think she wanted to date, and whether they did it secretly or openly.
That's breaking the rules. Secretly dating is breaking the rules. And they make a big point of saying, like, again, spoilers, but later on in the episode, like, hey, we don't agree with this rule, but we wouldn't break it and jeopardize the team.
All right, fine, go for it.
Yes. Okay. So Roxy shows up. I'm not giving myself an Ninja Steel. I don't think it's worth that, but I am happy I'm happy we didn't agree to disagree.
Okay.
So Roxy shows up with some Morphex for Evox because once again he's trying to be the mayor, but he needs extra Morphex to be able to maintain that visage, and he's always impatient. Give me more, blah blah. And it's funny because it's to maintain his cover, but he comes off as like an addict, like as though he's addicted to it. Which, unless that's going to come into play later, I don't think he is, but that's how the actor plays it at least.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
That's a possible plot hole.
Okay.
What is Mayor Evox's main goal when he's the mayor?
To put up more Morphex towers and get more intel on the Rangers and their, like, compromise their security. That right?
So if he has open access to Morphex towers that he's having built, why does he always need them to bring him Morphex if he could literally walk in and get it?
It's a good question, but I don't think it's a plot hole. Because the same way someone who works at a bank has access to money, that doesn't mean they can go in the vault and take it out without people questioning them, cameras capturing
But
them,
money
etc.
is different than resources. He could go to these towers and go, I want to make sure that this like refining or mining or whatever of
No,
this
you're wrong.
Morphex is
You're
good.
wrong.
I'm
You're
going
wrong.
to take some and test it. He could have a system where he
No, you're wrong.
has
You're wrong.
Morphex brought to him
No,
from each tower
no,
to make sure.
because if he
working
does that,
correctly.
yes, he could ask that. He may or may not have the authority within more like Grid Battle Force and Morphex. Let's assume he does. There is going to be a record that a couple times a day, it seems like, or at least once a day, the mayor is getting samples of Morphex that he doesn't return because he uses it up. And someone is going to say, why are you taking so many samples? There's no, committee, there's no scientist studying it. It just disappears every day. And we know you're the one doing it. So how would he explain that if he's trying to maintain his cover?
He'd make something up.
It would blow his cover really fast. He could do it once or twice, but if he did it every day,
if you're at the point where you have to secretly try to meet up with your cronies multiple times a day, I think that is a better plan.
It wasn't a problem until the Rangers started watching him all day. When they weren't, he'd be like, I have a meeting, and he leaves. Or I'm in my mansion. People weren't paying attention to what he was doing until this episode. So it wasn't a problem.
I still think it's something he could have potentially implemented this episode and still had it foiled.
Again, it's worth discussing. It's a question worth asking. It's not a plot hole because there are answers that I just came up with as to why it might not have happened.
Okay, fine. We're not going to ninja steal either side, but
we're not agreeing.
Wrong,
we're not agreeing to disagree either. So again, I'll take that as a win.
I still think they should have expanded on that potentially, but
maybe,
on.
But it's not a plot hole. You agree it's not a plot hole?
Fine, it's not a plot hole.
Okay, I'll win that.
God, you're like, I know the strategy. You're like, I don't have to be right. He just can't be right.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I just need to make sure he's not right. I don't have to be right. He just can't be. As long as I prove that, that's like a victory.
Yeah. Hey, man, I took intro to criminal justice in community college 17 years ago.
I took argument and advocacy COM 41. I know how to argue with people, Gaz.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, so
they are out in the open, obviously drawing attention potentially to themselves.
Right.
Zoe comes over and Mayor Evox in classic fashion of, I'm in danger, help me.
Which, to be fair, is the best thing he could say at that point.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I was wondering how Roxy was going to play it. Like, is she going to be like, ooh, I better get out of here or whatever? But then, no, she's like, let's fight, and, really tries to kill her. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess there's no reason she shouldn't try to kill a ranger. Like, that's kind of her job, And I love that she just pulls out her double guns. Like, here we go. Oh, we actually have a fun fact from Matt Kendall-Clare this week.
Yep.
That in Go Busters, where footage is taken from, this is the footage for this episode, not right here where she's fighting Zoe, unmorphed obviously, but the other footage is the first time we've seen the Roxy counterpart in the Sentai, because this purple, I guess, is the original version. They colored it the more yellow-green and put it in more. So it's odd to think that, a third of the way, halfway through season 2, is the first time we're getting Go Busters footage of this character. So that was the fun fact that we got this week. Thank you for that, sir.
Indeed.
And so then we have Zoe fighting her, and again, it looks like Jacqueline Cislowski is doing. Is that how you say her name, Cislowski?
I believe so.
Yeah, is doing a lot of the kicking and stunts herself, and if not, they're doing a great job matching it but it really looks like she's. I do too. And as a ranger, she's holding her own against a morphed Roxy, unmorphed, which is again just awesome. Then Roxy does something which we've never seen, and I guess this goes back to the Sentai footage, where she sort of has these guns and she drops them and starts flinging them on wires.
Like God of War.
Or like Gokaiger Super Mega Force, the way they would use their swords.
Kinda.
Like I forget, I think they could all do it, but I think one of the girls did it the most, either Mia or whatever. You didn't watch Super Mega Force still?
I watched some of it. I didn't watch it in its entirety, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the swords have all these extra powers, and one of them is, and it is like God of War as well, is the point. Yeah, and that was very cool. It's a bummer that it didn't work better, because it's like, oh, here's this new attack, and it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. I'm just still gonna win by turning it, whatever.
This specifically, if you look on the gun blaster blade things, there's little keychain dangles on the bottom, which I think it just those dropped and extended, which is how she did it.
Oh, so you think but she was throwing the gun. She wasn't just throwing chains, right?
No. I think the chains on the bottom extended and she held onto them so the guns were
Right.
twirling
Okay. Yes,
around.
that is what I thought too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
As opposed to in Super Mega Force where I think it was the handle where the I don't remember. This was more easily explained than Super Mega Force.
No, it's exactly the same. Hold on. I have it's a Gokaiger figure, SH Figure Arts right here. See how there's a little handle and then a wire and attaches there? It kind of came out the back, so it's exactly the same as what you're describing.
Yeah, so we're both
Ninja
right.
Steel. No, that's a full Ninja Steel. I'm not compromising on that one. I had a visual aid. Forget it.
Do you have your Roxy right there?
No, because I'm getting rid of my Roxy.
What?
I told you this. Well, the audience doesn't know. All the Beast Morphers figures I bought from the standard retail line, I'm getting rid of all of them because the Lightning Collection is better. It's more expensive, but it's better, and they're not compatible scale-wise, and that drives me nuts. So I have Blaze, Nate, Ravi, and Devin already in Lightning line, and when they come out with Roxy and Zoe, I'll get those. I doubt I'll get a Tronic, but I don't need 2 copies of all the same figures in different scales. And the ones they don't make or haven't made yet, for example, I have Silver Ranger Steel in his morphed mode. It's the Bandai 6-inch Hero Series vinyl, which I don't have in front of me, but they look like this, and they scale perfectly with the Lightning line. Now, granted, this isn't a super dynamic pose, but I have him standing back there, and he looks like he fits right in. So, worst case scenario, I could always get a vinyl if I can't get a Lightning Collection figure.
Here is the one thing we will agree to disagree on.
Okay.
Because you, if I remember correctly, told me a while back, don't get rid of one of them now because then if they don't make it, if it goes up later, you'll have to buy it again for more.
Yes.
Wait till it comes out, take a slight loss, and then sell it later. Have you not told me that advice before?
I don't know that I said it about this particular figure. No.
Not this specific figure.
You're not getting a Ninja Steel. You're not. Look at my finger. No. You're not getting a Ninja Steel. Because I may have not have said about this particular figure, but I have absolutely said that to you before. And I would say that about this figure if you're thinking about selling yours. Here's the difference. If I sell my figure, and maybe it'll go up later and I'm losing out potentially, whatever. But if it doesn't come out in the Lightning Collection, I have no intention of buying back this version. I will just not have it. I will get a Hero Series version or wait for a custom or hope for something else to happen. But I can't have my Blaze that's 6 inches-ish standing next to a 5-inch-ish Roxy. It'll drive me nuts.
I don't think there's a Hero Series version.
I'm not going to have my Blaze standing next to Roxy, and they don't match.
She's shorter.
Not that much shorter. I've tried because I would keep the Tronics. I've tried it. Try it yourself. Put a picture up on the Facebook page. It doesn't look good. It can look good in a photo if you kind of play with perspective and put some closer and farther. But on a shelf, when I've only got 2 inches and I have them standing next to each other, it's not going to look good. I want a Roxy figure. I have a Roxy figure, but it doesn't match all the other figures. Like, it's their own fault. If they just put out Devin and didn't put out all the other Beast Morphers so quickly, I would probably be like, well, whatever. I have Devin in that collection. This is my Beast Morphers collection. But they've got most of the team out and a villain at this point. It's guaranteed they're going to finish the team. Hopefully they do Roxy. That's not guaranteed, but it's guaranteed they're going to do Zoe and Steel. There's no way they're not going to. So they got me to buy they got me to buy the figures twice. So they did their job. But I don't feel the need to keep Zoe and a couple Tronics and we're getting way off topic.
Or you could just have a lot of Tronics and a Roxy and be happy, like the big dog.
You collect differently than I do. You don't care about scale.
What do you mean? We don't collect exactly the same. This is new. This is news to me.
But you get offended by the way I collect. I only get offended when you don't open things you buy and leave them in boxes in the closet.
You're like, oh, how's that crate of things doing right now? Well, it's doing fine. Thanks for asking.
Right. And what I'm describing exactly is I only have a certain amount of shelf space and I want it to look nice. And the stuff that doesn't fit there, instead of putting it in a box in the garage, I'm going to sell it so someone else can enjoy it and I can get some money back to maybe buy another Lightning Collection figure. Ninja Steel. Anyway.
It's not Ninja Steel. I already said you're not going to change my mind. We can agree to disagree.
No, I don't want to agree to disagree.
I want to have a Roxy. You obviously don't care.
I want to have a Roxy. I think she's a great character. I even want a purple Roxy. I want both. And I want the new Blaze, too. But more than I want an Evox, really. I want a Scrozzle. I want everybody. Out of all the villains, Scrozzle, I'm not Scrozzle. Evox is the one I'm least interested in, strangely, because I don't love his design, and
I think the paint on the basic one is what got you. If they made one
terrible.
with even if they made the basic one with that kind of paint, you'd be like, looks kind of cool.
I don't love the design of the character. It's not terrible, but of all the villains, he's my least favorite. I mean, there have been villain of the week, monster of the weeks that I like better than Evox. And he's not as Evox in his Evox form. He's not in many episodes. He hasn't really done anything. He's been in like 2 battles technically, and neither one were that big a deal. So like when I think of the Rangers, I don't think of like and Evox. I think of and Blaze or Roxy or to a lesser extent Scrozzle or Tronics. So it's not like I don't know. I don't feel the need. It's not like having Goldar with the Red Ranger where you kind of need them, like I don't know.
If you only had the option of a basic or a basic Scrozzle, would you buy it?
I would for 2 reasons.
Campbell Cooley's a cool guy.
Yeah, because out of respect and loyalty to Campbell Cooley, number 1. And number 2, that is a case where because he's not so much of a combat fighter, I could maybe put him in the back of the shelf and maybe put like a can, or it's not this can, but something where it looks like he's working on a computer, way in the background.
You could give him the briefcase.
I could give him the briefcase, yeah, and I wouldn't have to have him standing next to his partner, because that's the thing. Blaze and Roxy are partner, like they specifically, So yes, if they only come out with a basic Scrozzle, I will probably get him, and that's probably the only one I would get.
Yeah, I really hope Hasbro listens and understands that people want a Scrozzle figure. Sorry.
They should, especially because they're doing all these monsters of the week. But if you remember Dino Charge, which did a really good job of putting out like everything and like tons of monsters of the week, they never put out a Poisandra, who was a main character, until like the show was over and it was in a 2-pack with the Red Ranger you had to buy again, and barely anybody got. And that's the way they do it. It's like, I don't know why they think a random one-off monster of the week is more collectible than a main character that's on the show all the time. Like, and Scrozzle, he looks cool. It's not even like, okay, well, he's not a big warrior, but if you're a kid, he looks like this crazy robot samurai looking guy. It's not like, oh, he's like, I don't know. And yes, Campbell Cooley.
Lead and end, Campbell Cooley.
Wow.
So,
okay.
We were talking about them fighting.
Yes.
The God of War style fight, a la Super Mega Force Gokaiger.
Yes. Then Zoe, to counter that, uses her Beast X power. I didn't mind this. The jump.
Spin strike.
Fine. I'm totally fine with that. They always have new weapons. And the way she was using the jumping, again, it was like bouncing off like little I had no problem with this fight whatsoever. I thought when in her civilian form it was a lot of fun, and the power-up mode. What I found interesting though was she defeats Roxy, and she's like kind of sparking and crackling with electricity. I thought she was gonna blow up. She's like, "We'll see next time," because now they're kind of. But she teleports away, and that might have just been because of Sentai footage or whatever. But in my head, I'm like, I wonder if they're running low on resources. Where theoretically, yeah, they could rebuild them a million times, but they need parts and Morphex and stuff. So I wonder if it's like, stop blowing up. Come back and I'll fix your arm, like.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that becomes a thing next season where they kind of limit that immortality a bit.
Yeah. They go back to the base after this, and they're like, Mayor Daniels, so glad we got you here. And then Nate, without saying anything, was just like, all right, so I put a tracker in your arm, and he freaks out.
I love it.
It was so great. Just, why did you do that? And he's like,
did I give you permission to do that?
Yeah, you got to ask before you put trackers in people's arms, guys.
It was great because Nate's a little bit weird about science sometimes. He's probably not thinking clearly and whatever, and he just does it. So that's fine. And then the Evox is mad because I can't be getting tracked, so that makes sense. But the mayor, when he was a human, probably also would have been mad, because if somebody just walked up to me and shot me in the arm with something without my permission, that's a fair thing to be upset about. So it's not like he was blowing his cover. So yeah, again, all of it made perfect sense, played perfectly the way it's supposed to. And then speaking of Campbell Cooley, he goes out of the room and he's like, I have to make a call to Hong Kong. And then he goes,
a Hong Kong man.
Which is funny because he could have just been like, I have to make a call or I'll be right back. He could have said anything, but he's like, I need a more elaborate line.
Oh, no, because he was saying like, because they said, we have to protect you.
Yeah.
That's why we gave you a tracker. We're going to have 2 Rangers on you at all times.
Yes.
And then he's like, well, I have a Canadian lunch and I have a call with a Hong Kong
Right, but
man.
he could have just said he has a call. He didn't have
No,
to.
I know,
Yeah,
but he was
the lie
in
was
that mode. He's
yeah.
like, I'm meeting with the Canadian guy and Madlib, Hong Kong man. Okay.
Right. Yeah, it was, but it was funny, but it was unnecessary. Not unnecessary in the episode, but the character didn't need to. It's like when someone's lying, and instead of going like, "I don't want to go," they're like, "I have my brother." See, do you remember a year? It's like, just say you're not going. Like, what do you? But so he calls the pointy dimension a cyber evil, where we see Scrozzle, who has like one line. Like last episode he had none. This episode he has, I think, one. And basically he says, just to make it clear for the audience, oh no, then you can't return to our base or they'll find you. Or find our base, rather. So that establishes that in case anyone wasn't following along, he can't go back to their base. What, you got to smile. You got something?
Yeah, I forgot. So they're like, we need 2 Rangers on this. Steel. Without skipping a beat.
Yes.
Hey, you know who's going to do it? Zoe and Nate. They're
yes,
gonna do it.
And he literally pushes them together. Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
I put verbatim notes. Steel is the greatest wingman. Moving on.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Then we cut to them packing up for their undercover, and they're packing up, among other things, the binoculars, the Go Busters binoculars that they just use as regular binoculars in the show, but still nice that they're including them.
Yep.
And speaking of backpacks, I'm looking at the backpacks and they just look like black and red. But do you remember before the show aired, or maybe after like the first episode, when they were talking about toys and things coming out, there were supposed to be Grid Battle Force backpacks, like that matched the iconography, that were going to be adult sizes, or at least kid sizes, but I thought they said adult sizes, that would be sold at like GameStop and places like that, fan channel stuff. There were pictures of it and everything. Do you remember this at all? All right, I'm annoyed because I want one.
I would totally get one too. That's why it's like, I was just thinking, I was like, man, that JanSport I have is real old.
I've had mine. I have a blue JanSport now that I think about it. Yeah, it's got kind of like a plaid to it, and it's fine, but I could certainly use another one, and this could be what I use for hiking or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
Ben and Betty come in.
Yeah, and they have these things that I thought were going to be like grenades or sleep gas pellets or some sort of James Bond weapon. But no, what are they? What are they, Big Dog?
Clothing capsules.
Yeah, perfect for a quick disguise, they say. And immediately, and this is right in character, they just chuck him at him. And Nate gets put into this like nice suit, and it also fixes his hair and puts on new shoes, and then they hit her, same thing, boom, and she gets like an elegant dress and stuff, and they're like less impressed than they should be with this technology, to be honest. Even on this show, that's like amazing,
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're supposed to not stand out, we're supposed to blend in, and this is a bit much and whatever.
Then they look at each other and like, hi.
Yeah. And Steele's like, you guys look great together. And so then Ben's like, well, here, try another one. Fair enough. And he misses and he hits Steele. Fair enough. But the one he is throwing is this like 1980s prom dress, or like an 8-year-old girl's.
I think it's a ballerina outfit, like a pink tutu.
Maybe, but it very juvenile, very over the top, way more outstanding than the outfit she's wearing. And I couldn't imagine any situation where she'd be wearing that, other than, hey, this is funny, it's on Steele.
Yeah.
So I'll allow it, but not because it goes on Steele and it's funny because he's wearing this goofy dress, but because his response is, I love it. It's so sparkly. He's Mr. Positivity.
He can never do wrong.
No. I wanted to see him wear that later in the episode. Like at the end, be like, guys, we're going out. Yeah, this is great. The one thing I didn't like, though, was that Nate and Zoe were saying, like, oh, the mayor's in a hurry, and now we got to go change. Like, thanks a lot. And it's like, they have a whole bucket of these balls. Why didn't they just throw another one and change the outfit? Like, don't they come off just as easily, I guess? I don't know.
I guess they assumed it wouldn't help.
Inconsistent technology. But then they find out, oh, and he's like, here, take these flowers and these chocolates as long as you're sitting there. And then Nate's like, what are you doing? You're trying to make it a date? He's like, don't worry. So he told me. And Nate is not thrilled with that, but she's like, nope. He figured it out. But again, good, because I thought it was going to be one of those things like, why would you tell him? And they get mad over this misunderstanding. But she's like, no, he kind of figured it out. And he's like, all right. I was like, great. Thank you, Power Rangers.
Yes, I know.
Oh, that you said what was on your mind in the moment instead of like storming out and not, like, oh, thank you.
And it's funny because throughout this entire season 1 and season 2, Nate's always the one that is, for the smartest guy on the show, allegedly, he's always the one that's just like, well, I don't know. You could say like the girl who made the Beast X Zord is arguably smarter, but
she was building on his work.
Anyways, here, you get it. So
no. He is the smartest guy on the show, not arguably.
Scrozzle could be smarter.
Scrozzle, maybe.
Ninja Steel.
No,
All right.
No, I will agree to disagree, but I won't give you Ninja Steel.
I already gave myself one, so it's fine.
Well, then I'm giving myself 3.
Here is why.
From before.
Here is why. Because if Scrozzle and Nate are both equally smart scientifically and with technology, Scrozzle doesn't do what Nate does, where Nate hears something, doesn't let the other person speak, and assumes he knows the exact reasons why.
That doesn't mean Scrozzle's smarter. That means Scrozzle lives under a fascist dictatorship.
No.
He lives under Evox. He can't be questioning.
You're not
things.
understanding what I'm saying. No, he doesn't even, like, I'm talking about even with Blaze and Roxy. Like, somebody will say something to Nate, and Nate will be like, "You're terrible. Get out of here. You're fired." Whereas Scrozzle would be like, "Well, that's kind of weird." And then they'd say something and go, "That makes sense."
Nate didn't say that. The commander said that.
No, Nate's had knee-jerk reactions where he's gotten mad at team members about stuff.
So you're saying
remember the memory thing?
Yeah, but you're saying he's less smart than Scrozzle because he's more emotional?
No, because he doesn't think things through when he's emotional.
That doesn't mean he's less smart. That means he maybe is less effective under pressure.
You know what? We are trying so hard to one-up each other this episode that it's just taking the entire time. Whatever. Nate did well. We can agree he did well. They're like, "Hey, yes, we gotta go," and Steele's like, "Yeah, definitely."
They say, "We'll see you later," and he's like, "You will see me later."
Oh yeah, ha ha ha.
Yes, and so then we cut to them in normal clothes in like some sort of gondola thing. I don't know. That's not a gondola. What do you call that?
No, like a
bench with a top. They're in a bench with a top.
We'll think of the name.
It doesn't matter. Gorgonzola cheese, and but there's Steele like looking through the bushes, like I'm gonna get love going here, and I love that they do this so immediately. It's not like where's this gonna go, and then he takes a stick.
They're like, "I'm so hungry. Let's eat our ramen that we brought with us."
And he finds a stick. No, they just bought it from a vendor. There was a food truck or something there.
Oh, thank God! There's a food vendor here selling ramen. I'm so starved.
So they buy it. They're getting ready to eat it. And then Steele pushes Nate's over, and Nate. What I love too is Nate doesn't question it. He's like, I'm such a klutz. Like, I guess he's always knocking stuff over, and that's totally expected. But then, of course, Zoe, being the heart of the team, is like, hey, I'll share with you, buddy. Also, I think you're cute, and let's make out. And so, and then Steele's like, yes, my work here is done. And then they have, and this was spoiled for me weirdly, like the one image.
Yeah, I know, same.
The Lady in the Tramp, like, kind of moment. So I was kind of annoyed that I saw that somewhere, but what are you going to do? And so it's exactly like Lady in the Tramp, where they get to the thing and then they kind of like look away, or they hear a noise or something and they stop. But while this is happening, the mayor, Evox, sees this and realizes this is my chance. So in the middle of this important meeting with the guy from Hong Kong or Canada or wherever he's from, he's like, I gotta go. And he's able to get away because they're not looking. And then they're really about to kiss, like not the fake, and like they're like, ooh, and then Nate spills it, which confirms that I guess he is a klutz. And Steele is a genius for doing that because he knew that Nate would not question it because he's such a klutz that he spilled ramen theoretically twice and is like, well, that's just how I am. And so that kills the moment, luckily. But then they realize that the mayor's gone and the commander is furious and is like, how is that possible? And she's right. How is that possible? Because they should have been looking, but they weren't. They were canoodling.
Well done. I'll give you that one.
Yeah. That was a nice one, not like the other one that I did with anger.
So I have here for my exact notes.
Yes.
Mayor Evox runs away and yells at the Rangers since Blaze and Roxy couldn't get him more effects. Oh yeah. So Blaze and Roxy show up, then they stop them, and then he's just super pissed. He's just like, you guys couldn't protect me.
Right.
That's why I'm mad at you.
I thought that was a great transition.
It was good.
It was perfect.
And it's just, it made me feel so overjoyed that he just can't get this perfect.
Oh yeah,
it's like watching Tom and Jerry, and Tom just never gets it. He's just like,
well, two things. One, I agree that it's working, and comedy's hard to get right in Power Rangers. Comedy's hard to get right, period. But in Power Rangers, I feel like I hate to say this, but more often than not, they get it wrong. And this episode, they got it so right, and it worked so well. So it's that much better. But second, and almost as important, I watch Tom and Jerry, and I hate Jerry. I can't stand that Tom can't get him. I don't know if you were saying you're on Jerry's side, but you're a bad person if you are, because Tom goes through so much, and if Jerry just beat him and escaped to live, I could live with that. But Jerry is like psychotic and sadistic, and he sets up these horrible traps and he taunts him, and like Jerry could just leave, but he stays to torment Tom.
I never really thought about it that way,
Yeah.
but it's interesting. I wasn't saying I was pro or anti Jerry.
Okay.
It was more just that physical face comedy frustration of like, oh.
Yes.
So my next notes when they go back to base.
Yep.
Steel is amazing.
Yes.
The commander sucks and can almost never be redeemed.
The fact you said almost makes me not feel the need to argue with you. Steel is amazing.
9.5 times out of 10, I think the commander's terrible.
The commander is terrible a lot, but she is a commander. She's in charge of the security of the systems, theoretically the world by extension, all the people under her. She has a lot of responsibility. Things need to be run a certain way. I get that, and she has to make the hard calls and be the jerk a lot. I'm fine with all of that. I think she is a jerk, and I think it makes sense that she's a jerk. But when you said what would you say, almost beyond redemption all the time, I don't agree with that. Because most of what she does for the greater good, or at least what she perceives as the greater good. She's not capricious. She's not, flippant about it. She's not inconsistent. And many times in the show, she's redeemed herself. She's done the jerk thing and then said, you know what? Okay, I have new information. I've had time to think, including this episode. So that's the part I don't agree with.
I feel like the redemption that she gets in the show is just her acknowledging that people have proven her wrong where her logic makes no sense.
Well, that's still the mark of a better leader than many, that she can
admit
she's
she's
wrong
just
and
like,
change.
They're like, you're wrong and here's why. And she's like, fine, okay, I've changed my ways. Just kidding. I can't figure out how to stick to my
but
point.
that's some people call that flip-flopping. Other people say that's getting new information and making a revision of your views based on.
I think people have the capacity of getting new information and openly changing her views.
Yes.
Or their views. I think when it comes to the commander, she has a thought or a feeling or a rule. People go, here's why you're wrong and it's actually detrimental. And she goes, fine. As opposed to, I've learned this whole new concept and lesson and my outlook's changed. It's, you proved me wrong. I'm not going to argue. That's how I take it.
That's a very fine line distinction, because basically what I'm hearing, maybe this isn't what you're saying, is that she is proven wrong and adjusts her actions accordingly, which is what I was saying. But the distinction you seem to be making is that she's not happy about it. She's like, oh, you got me. And I don't think she's not happy about it because, like, I really wanted this rule just because I said so. I think it's like, I'm unhappy because I was doing what I thought was right. Apparently I was wrong. I feel stupid. I'm going to change the rule, and this sucks because I made a mistake. But I don't think she's like, woohoo, thanks for showing me I was wrong. I think she's like, damn, you're right. I was wrong. Okay, like, you're assigning this.
I think she's just really stubborn.
Yeah, but when she's proven wrong, she changes.
Sometimes.
She might not do it like gladly, but she does it. Like, I don't, like I said, I think it's a fine line distinction you're making.
I think we've had a lot of character development on the show. The commander is not one person I would say is developed.
No, she's consistent because she's always been someone who has certain rules and responsibilities, and then when things have been proven that they need to be changed, she will change them eventually. Not quickly, but she will eventually change.
I think she brings the team down.
I don't agree with that.
I think they would all be better off without her.
You're crazy. Who would run things? Devin?
I think
Ravi?
Anybody.
No.
The person who deploys the Megazord, who cares? You're
trying to get me angry now. That's ridiculous.
I think the commander and I think Ben and Betty's dad bring Grid Battle Force down and are a detriment to the organization.
Ben and Betty's dad, you are correct. He should be out of there. But the commander, no, she is a competent commander. She's not nice and touchy-feely, but she is competent and she responds to the needs of a changing situation and adapts accordingly.
I think she's incompetent because she doesn't listen to her team. I said incompetent because she doesn't listen to her team and is a bad leader by not understanding the needs of her team and how they can succeed.
She gets there. Again, is she the best leader ever? No, but there are plenty of leaders that never change and don't listen. She at least is willing to admit she makes mistakes and adjust on the fly.
She is arguably one of the worst mentors in all of Power Rangers.
No, I disagree.
Who do you think's worse?
Mentor's worse, first of all. Gosei
Like,
is worse. From
Gosei
Samurai.
Gosei just kind of gives him stuff.
Gosei's probably the absolute
Gosei
worst.
just goes,
Yeah.
hey, like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to solve this
There's
problem.
nothing good about Gosei
Here's
because
a new power
he's a bad mentor. He doesn't look interesting. Like there's nothing good about Gosei. He's probably the absolute worst.
Mentor was from
from
which season?
Samurai. He was literally named Mentor.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And,
I was making sure.
Yeah.
I was making sure I wasn't confusing him with Keeper for a sec from Dino Charge. That's why I was.
Keeper's tough because he's not terrible as a mentor, but I really don't like the mask, the puppet. Like I don't like the design and it's inconsistent with the mouth flaps. So as a character, like he's not bad, but as a design, I don't really like him. I'm not a huge. There's other ones. We get like a list of all the mentors we don't like. She's not the worst. She's not.
I think she's in the bottom 3 for sure.
So you think it's her, Mentor, and Gosei?
As of what I know now, potentially. If we went through each thing, that may change. But as of right now, I can't think of anybody who's worse.
Who was after Zordon?
Demetria.
She wasn't great.
She's not as bad as the commander.
Let me put it this way. If you were on a team of Power Rangers, who would you rather have be in charge? Demetria? You're nuts. Demetria was this weird hippie telling you riddles, floating around, not doing much of anything, and maybe you learn a lesson despite her. Then you have the commander who's like, yes, a hard butt and running things tough and not really being touchy-feely, but they're a competent military commander running things the way things should be run and backing you up and, looking out for everybody and caring.
Demetria didn't give as much advice directly, but she supported the team and let them build through each other. The commander puts rules that make her entire team distracted because they have to try to not break the rules all the time, thus making them worse Rangers.
No.
Ravi has to secretly draw and have a secret relationship, and these two can't date and just think about dating the whole time because they're not allowed to do it and distracts them from their ranger duties. Ninja Steel.
Ravi not being able to paint had nothing to do with being a ranger. That's his mother. That's because his mother thought it was
she's just terrible.
She's not. I don't care if she's a bad mother. I'm talking about if she's a commander. If she's my commander, she could be a bad mother. She could be a bad friend. She could be whatever.
They overlap in this instance, so it counts.
I still would rather have her than Demetria. I think she has some rough edges, but she's a commander. She's commanding the way she's supposed to.
Whoever hasn't stopped this YouTube video, please in the comments put who you think is a better mentor and why.
Wasn't Demetria's wasn't like Divatox her sister or something too?
I don't remember if that was it. I think the same actress played both at once.
I thought it was a thing though. Maybe it didn't get maybe it was a behind the scenes thing where it was supposed to be sisters and then she didn't. But she never told
that part.
Them.
That sounds familiar, and I don't 100% remember, but I'm pretty sure they both were the same, which is why she had the face cover.
Okay. Yeah, but that annoyed me too. That she wouldn't be like, oh, by the way, my sister is the villain, and that's who's after. Whatever. We're just gonna go. One day we'll have to do some kind of ranking, but I don't think she's the best. I feel like she's gonna end up in the middle, honestly.
The captain in Lightspeed, I think, was technically the next one.
He was good. He was similar to her, where they were just like straightforward.
Much better than her.
He was a bit better than her, but similar command style.
And he also had reasons to why he had flaws. He's like, hey, I accidentally gave my son to a demon, and it scarred me.
I like Captain. Was it Ryan? Captain Ryan?
I think Ryan was the name of the Titanium Ranger.
Right. What was his last name? Doesn't matter. We are so off track. Wow. We're at 48 minutes. We are so off track. Oh my gosh. So Steel's
Don't worry, the episode wraps pretty quick.
Steel's like, Commander, it's not their fault. I kind of made this happen and blah, 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 blah. And then the commander's like, yeah, well, it's a rule and blah, blah. And Steel says something like, well, what's the point of these rules when they're making everybody miserable? And then Ravi, to your point earlier, not being in the episode much, does step and goes, yeah, the rules sure made me and Roxy miserable. And it's like, oh, yeah. Which brought back, though, it's unclear. Is he dating Roxy?
She's on vacation. She's on a cruise.
But are they dating? Is she? Because she's not a ranger, but she's in Great Battle Force, so it's very unclear. And then, but I love also that then they're all having this debate, and then the mayor's just like, rules are made to be followed. Can we wrap this up? It's just like, I gotta get my fix.
She's a terrible leader.
No, it's because he's Evox and he's jonesing for some more effects and doesn't care.
Oh, sorry, you said mayor. I thought you said commander.
Yeah, mayor. Yeah. Yeah, the evil mayor is worse than the commander. I think you'll agree with that at least.
That's fair.
Okay, fine. Then we're back in agreement. So
Mayor Evox is a worse leader to the Rangers than their commander.
There you go. Okay, we're in agreement. Thank you. So the commander does say, okay, we're switching this up. Nate, you stay here. Ravi, you're going to go be on the detail of protection with Zoe. So they go out because he has another meeting. And then he gets on the phone. He's like, I need more Morphex. He starts coughing, which is the indicator that he's like running out. He starts seeming sick or whatever. And Blaze and Roxy show up. And this is such a weird little moment where they're like, okay, we need a distraction. So they're going to make a something Tron. And they look at a little girl walking with her mother.
Dumb. I hated this part.
Here's the thing. I hated it, but it wasn't as bad as the Ben and Betty thing because I liked how weird it was in a way.
I actually did. Now that we think about it, I disliked this more than the Ben and Betty part.
It's weird that they said, okay, I got to get a tiara. Now, and it's always that thing of like they have a tiara monster, Tiara Tron or whatever is the costume they have to use. So they have to find a way to get a tiara mixed in. Fine. Why they chose to have it on a little girl's head walking with her mother, I don't know. Why, instead of like jumping out and scaring them and it falls off or some normal thing they do, she walks up and she kind of takes it in a playful like, haha, I got your tiara. And the little girl turns around and she's like, shh. And the little girl's like, it was bizarre.
Yeah. It was so weird. I hated it.
It was so weird. I kind of liked it. It didn't make a lot of sense, but Roxy, the evil Roxy, is a weird character, and she's sort of playfully evil, and it fit that. The reaction of the little girl made less sense to me than Roxy doing that.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm thinking maybe like she could tell this is like a bad person, evil person, whatever, and just didn't want to like start trouble. And was like, okay.
Because she didn't look bewildered. She just went.
I think the little girl actress either got bad direction or did bad acting. But I think the Roxy actress did great. And I liked it. It was a weird moment, and I liked it. Okay.
I think they utilized her well. I think the setup for that was very weird, where it's like this parent doesn't notice that a stranger's stealing from their child, and the child doesn't freak out in any way. Hey, that's mom. Scream for their parent, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just.
I agree with all of that, but the performance from the Roxy actress whose name I'm blanking on, I enjoyed enough that I could forgive the rest, and I still like this scene better than the Ben and Betty scene, because I think this scene was a good scene that was executed poorly. I think the Ben and Betty scene should have been written better from inception. I think the Ben and Betty scene was executed well. It was just a bad idea.
I think this was we're only talking about it positively because of Roxy. If she didn't ham it up as much, we would have been like, this is terrible and made no sense.
Absolutely,
which is what
agree.
I'm still.
No, I agree, except that it's like watching Bruce Campbell in a bad movie. Like it's
they make Tiara Tron.
Yes.
And then Steel and Nate join the fight.
Are you trying to move this along like a good person?
Yes, because we keep arguing about dumb stuff and I'm over it.
All right, so Tiaratron comes, and there's this shot of like a random civilian, and I don't know if she's like somebody's friend or whatever, but she's like what would be called probably a featured extra, where she's just like, and then the flying kick comes, and I have a screenshot of her on. I just thought it was amazing. So the flying
kick.
Yes, absolutely. But then Zoe's like, nope. Once again, as a civilian, I'm going to do some awesome kicks and fights. And Ravi's like, oh, I got you, Mayor. And this is a small thing, but they cut back to the command center, and there's a great shot. There was good cinematography in this episode. There were some good shots, and actually in the Ben and Betty scene too, like some weird like up angles of Nate. Like it's just like, I don't know, they're playing with the cameras in a way I like. And there's this shot that was very like Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek or something, where there's two consoles like this, and it kind of opens as like Steel and Nate and the commander are like strolling up onto the deck, and it just looked really cool. And like, I don't know, somebody on staff was like, I'm going to start using the camera. I don't know if it was a director, cinematographer, who it was, but somebody was trying extra hard on this episode, and I noticed, and I liked it.
Yep, it was good.
Yeah. But then back to the fight, Ravi's overheating from his gorilla powers, which we don't see that often. So I was like, okay, cool.
I thought that was cool, yeah.
I did too, but it made me think Steel and Nate, oh, never mind. I was going to say they don't have weaknesses, but that's because their powers weren't corrupted the way the other Rangers were, so never mind. Okay, I answered my own question. So then he cools down. They get into the fight. They're all fighting. That whole fight is very average. I'm fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's like I kind of don't care that much about it is the thing. It's like I want to see what's going on with the mayor. I want to see what's going on with Nate and Zoe. This fight, again, is sort of the B plot. And it's fine. It's totally fine. Then They say, oh, well, there's a Gigadrone has been launched. I sent Devin to take care of it. I love this.
Can I read you my notes?
Yes.
Steel and Nate join the fight, comma. Devin makes Gaz want the Lion Zord more.
Yes. It is confirmed. It is confirmed. I need to get
You're
the
getting
Lion.
it.
I'm
It
getting
just
it.
has to happen.
Oh,
It's both. You're putting them in that pose. It's done.
It's crazy because it's like the other episode, there was like a moment or two where he looked cool. This whole fight was like as though someone was drawing a comic, and every page was like a splash page of the coolest way you could make
just.
And then you're like, oh, it's so good. And even the villain. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Was it? And even the villain, the Gigadrone, is like not the greatest design, but they're like flying and they're shooting drones, and it just makes for an exciting fight, like so it was quick. Part of me was like, oh, I wish I saw more of this, but part of me is like, no, we saw all the best parts. Like they could not have made this better, like. Oh, I mean, it's a giant robot riding around on a giant motorcycle, shooting and flying, and like it's nuts. It was so good. I loved it. He's jumping and there's fire behind him, and you got to remember this guy's like the size of a building. It's nuts.
I know.
I loved it. It was so good.
It's funny, and I know we sometimes self-promote your art and independent work and all that, right. But I legitimately watching this when I saw all those drones instantly thought of the Horror A4. I just thought of all these drones, and the second they were in frame, I'm like, these are getting demolished in a way that I think Gaz has done multiple times.
Yeah. Well, that's more of a giant monster than a Power Rangers trope where like the army sends in a ton of little things and it's just like, yeah, get out of here, But yes, I enjoyed that very much, and I loved how much Devin was like flying through the air or shooting things on his motorcycle, like moves that don't even really make sense, but I don't care because it's awesome. And the wheels lighting up in a cool way that I didn't notice before, and several times he just stops. He's like, yeah.
And the blaster that he used was awkward looking to the point where, like, I'm sure you've done this too, either now or as a kid, where you have a toy and you have accessories, and one of the accessories is supposed to go in one spot, and you're like, that'd be much cooler if it was a blaster. I'm just gonna pretend it's a blaster. So he had this weird prong thing that he's shooting all these down with. I'm like, that looks way cooler than whatever it's actually supposed to. Like, I don't think it's supposed to do that, but I'm rolling with it because it looks cool.
I agree. I absolutely agree. In the middle of this awesome fight, we cut back to the mayor and that stuff going on. The mayor's groaning, and Blaze and Roxy are like, oh, there he is. And they're about to give it to him, but once again, like Tom and Jerry, here comes Zoe. No, I'll save you, Mr. Mayor. And I like, again, the strategy. They're fighting not the Tronics, but the I always forget the
Robotron.
Robotron, thank you. They're fighting the Robotron, but they're making sure somebody's with the mayor. Again, good strategy, good tactics, which they don't always like. They got so much right in this episode.
I know.
And then she's like, "I'm gonna try the new weapon. Sure, why not? You're fighting against two. You pull out the Beast X Spin Saber. Oh, I said it right. and she pulls it out. I don't love the way it looks. We cut back though. Meanwhile, Ravi's back in the fight. He goes to Beast X mode.
Dude.
Right?
I know he did it, and I pre-groaned. I'm like, they're gonna do that dumb rock thing.
He reached into the sky.
He gets smashed his arm.
Yes. Never want to see a rock again. Smashes big orangutan, gorilla fists. When he reached up, I was like, is he gonna make a rock out of thin air? That's even stupider. But no, boom, a fist. It's so cool. It fixed the worst part of his thing. Like,
great.
Oh,
it's so awesome.
I loved it.
Me too.
And then he one punch, she's out of there. Great. Done. Works for me. So then we come back to Zoe fighting Blaze and Roxy, and she's using the spin sword as like, and it kind of reminds me of Tonfas. You know Tonfas, where they kind of look like nightsticks, but they spin around. It kind of reminded me of that.
Nightsticks and Tonfas are the same thing.
Oh, I thought Tonfas were like slightly different.
They're slightly shorter traditionally, but it's pretty much the same thing.
Gotcha. Okay, but it reminded me of that sort of fighting style. Although I think with those you have to let it spin, whereas this you can hold it and spin it. But either way, that made me think of that. That's all I'm saying. And I
agreed. Where I was like, oh, like they're making it look cool.
Yes, and like I said, I was not on board with this weapon because I thought it looked kind of dumb. But the way she used it was cool. I wish it was Betty using it, but whatever. And she's basically doing a good job, but there's 2-on-1, and eventually they get the better of her, and they hurt her in the way that she demorphs. And it's like, oh no, they point the guns at her, they're gonna kill her. She's demorphed, the guns are coming at her. What could happen? Boom, here comes Nate with the sacrifice play. Getting blasted. Perfect. Why not? And when I saw that, I'm like, I literally was like, okay, now like this is I was like, now what should happen is she gets inspired by his sacrifice and just goes crazy and saves the day, and then the commander sees how they're caring about each other, makes them a stronger team. That's what should happen. And that's what happened. So I'm happy. I'm happy. I mean, spoilers. I thought it happened. So awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was the part I liked where they're like, here's us proving a point. And she's like, all right, you proved a point.
Right. But Zoe picks up the sword, still demorphed, and she does like a boomerang spin attack
just
thing. Yeah. And they even are like, what? How is this happening? This can't happen, or something like that. And they're like, no. And then it ends. She catches it, and I have it on screen for the people to see. She's sort of like this. And it breaks my heart because it's a cool pose. It was a great moment. The whole scene was awesome. Jacqueline Slowski is like a badass unmorphed, like even more than when she's morphed sometimes. And she's got this awesome, it's like iconic, like it's not the Iron Man pose, but for her, this is her Iron Man pose. And she's holding this big foamy looking dumb sword. Like I just want to replace. I could even deal with the hilt and that part. I just want to replace the blade, make it glow even if it's a big orange thing and it glows. Like it seems so wasted. Like she's doing such a good job, and it's like, and here, hold this traffic cone, will you?
I will say she sold us, like, if she didn't have the scene she did in Betty as well with this sword, if we just looked, we're like, that's a big old goofy sword. But then they did it, it's like, that's actually kind of cool.
I agree. But again, and this image, I love it, except when it's still, it just,
If we were children, that would have sold us on that sword.
Absolutely. I mean,
which is the intended purpose of this episode.
Yes, but they could have made the sword look cooler, and then as an adult, I might want to buy it.
I know.
They could have had another. I mean, it's not like I don't have toys, It's not like I don't.
Can't rain all the time. Let's keep going.
Are you quoting The Crow?
I am quoting The Crow. Thank you for picking that up. Wow.
I mean, it didn't really fit, but okay.
I've been talking about that movie so much lately, so it's been on my mind.
I haven't seen that movie in a really long time. When it came out, it was like my favorite movie of all time.
It's so good.
I loved it. I bought the poster, the T-shirt, everything you could have, and I dressed as the Crow for Halloween twice.
Wow.
And I bought a bootleg, like when it was like one of the only bootlegs I ever bought in my life. Like before it was available, like at New York, I bought like some bootleg DVD or whatever, and it was terrible. And I hadn't seen it in a while. And a friend of mine, because I was thinking about watching it like, years ago, and a friend of mine's like, it doesn't hold up. It's not going to be as good as you remember.
That's a lie.
And I said, oh, I better not watch it because in my mind, it's one of my favorite movies of all times. And I've now not watched it, I don't know, over 10 years, more than that, 15 years. I don't know how long it's been. And I'm afraid to watch it because it's still perfect in my mind.
It still holds up.
That's not what I was told.
Well, whoever it was, I'm not going to say cut them out of your life because that's a little extreme, but they're wrong, and you shouldn't take life advice from them.
Here's the thing. You say that, but you and I don't always agree on things. And
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If we disagree on something, it's that we feel negatively about it. Rarely do we disagree on positive feelings.
I'll take it under consideration. Anyway, the mayor is like, oh, good job. You saved me again. Thanks.
Oh, you're
we've said it before, but the actor playing the mayor is so good as
so good. The way this episode resolves, I'm really bummed.
Yeah, me too, because he's so fun.
Like obviously it gets the plot going and it's good overall, but I'm like, I don't get to see Mary Vox.
Yeah. But we cut back to the fight, the Megazord fight. Well, I guess it's the Zord fight. It's not technically a Megazord. And we see the Gigadrone like firing lasers down on him as he's riding the motorcycle, and it's so awesome looking. And then there's like, I don't even know, I barely know what's happening. He's driving the motorcycle, the Gigadrone's flying over him, there's explosions behind him. Every scene is just like, let's make this look cool. What's happening in the fight? I don't know. Does it make logical sense?
This was the finale kind of thing.
Yeah.
Stakes are up here.
Yeah, things.
Swords.
And then there's so much good.
I know.
I was getting ready to be like, oh no, they're going to take one of the best Zord fights I've ever seen and ruin it right now. Because it gets to the point where the Red Racer Zord on the motorcycle is going to be like, I'm going to do my finisher. And he calls the Cheetah Beast Blaster. But he has a gun in his hand.
I know.
Is this really gonna, he calls the Beast Blaster, and I'm mad for a second. until he pulls it out and he says King Combo Strike, and that gun you were talking about before fires. His gun fires a gun. His gun fires a gun.
Did it!
They did it! They did it! Oh, they made the Cheetah Beast Blaster make sense for one episode at least. And if they were going to do it for one episode, this is the one. Because I was loving this up to this point, and I would have hated it if he pulled out a sword or something at that point.
My exact notes. Cheetah Beast Blaster, I am too. Cheetah Beast Blaster is finally used for a gun. Only took 1.5 seasons.
But yeah, seriously. And then for some reason, even though he was standing still, like he kind of, there's an explosion in the sky and he sort of peels out to the side. Again, doesn't even make sense. I don't care. It looks awesome. The whole fight, actually, I could sum up like this. Doesn't make sense. I don't care. It looks awesome. That was that entire fight. And you were absolutely right that I need a Red Razor Zord and a Lionfire Zord, not Lionfire, the Lion Zord as a motorcycle. And I want to have him in that pose, like kind of on the motorcycle like this with like the gun, like, yeah, like that's, yeah.
Honestly, in your display, it'd probably fit better that way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
I'm just trying to sell you even more than you already have
sold. I'm sold. The only thing that's keeping me from like running out and getting it is the fact that I'm not allowed to run out and get it.
That's fair.
Yeah. So virus eliminated. Then we cut back and the commander sees the footage of Nate and Zoe in that fight that we just talked about where they kind of powered each other up. And they said, this is what I was saying before, Nate's like, Commander, we haven't been dating. We do like each other. We have for months, but we never acted on it. We don't agree with the rule, but we wouldn't break it just to mess things up and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I believe you, Nate. And in the background, we see Mayor Evox like, and I'm like, oh, are they going to do the reveal this episode? They probably are because it's the mid-season break. I think that's where they're going with this. And then the commander says, no, you know what? I realize now that you're great, not in spite of the relationships you have, but because of the relationships you have. And so that rule, as you would say, is toast. And that's all fine, and we're not going to argue about what
I hated the way she's like, hey, what is this slang? Toast?
No, you hated it because it's the way an uncool mom would be trying to be cool, and that's exactly what's happening here.
I know, but they're shoehorning it.
She's shoehorning it. It fits the character. It's not supposed to be cool. It's supposed to remind
fine.
Okay,
fine,
thank
whatever.
you. But that doesn't matter because then Steele goes, yeah, I did it. He's like, I did it. He literally puts his hands up in the air, and I'm like, you did, buddy. You really did. He's like, you two could be together. They hold hands immediately, which is cool. And then and she asks him out, and he says affirmative, it's a date. And Devin's like, oh, okay, I had one line a second ago where I said you're together, and I guess I'm in this episode too now. And and then, but the mayor's like, I got to get out of here. And Devin's like, you okay? And he's like, I'm not well. And then, as people who are not well do, he runs away from everybody out into the street. And Devin's like, Dad. And he's like, get away from me. And it's weird because he's saying get away because he doesn't want him to see his Evox. But it reads more as though, like, the father that knows he's going to turn evil. But we've established that he's evil as the mayor. So it was a weird thing to say.
I did like the little power slide that Devin did. He's
yes.
Like, I'm here.
Yeah, that was very good. It was like a Sub-Zero Mortal Kombat, like.
Yes.
So then Evox powers up, and he's like, I am not your father, which I feel like was an intentional anti-homage to Star Wars. Not in a good or bad way, but I feel like.
I did the best to just move past it and not try to analyze it.
Okay. And then this is one of those. This is a plot hole. I didn't mind it because it's, whatever. But he's like, bah! And he knocks them all down. And he's like, my cover's blown, but whatever. And this is one of the things I've thought about. We may have even said Evox is very powerful. We don't know how powerful. But at any point, you would think he could have attacked one or more of the Rangers when they weren't expecting it, when they were in civilian form, and destroyed them. I say destroy because they don't say kill in Power Rangers, but same thing. And so this proves that he at the very least could knock them all down with one blast. And then he's like, soon the morphing grid will be mine. I'm leaving, even though I just defeated you theoretically with one hit.
Whatever,
and then it ends with unsettling music, and they're like, which is why we had the Ben and Betty stuff in the beginning, because you can't end on that with this heavy drama. And that's the end of this episode, which is the end of the season for now, even though we're only like a third of the way through the numbers.
Season 2, part 1?
Yeah, season 2, part 1, which is only 8 or 9 episodes. So, as I said before, as a season ender, if we think of it as like a cliffhanger, not the greatest in the world. This moment here was fine, but the whole thing. But as an episode, I really enjoyed it. Oh my gosh, we're at an hour 8 minutes right now.
Wow.
Yeah, you shouldn't have been arguing so much.
I know, apparently. Shame on me.
Shame on you. So, I give it an A.
A-.
Why the minus?
because there were some things that I did not like
Ben and
that
Betty?
I went at length about. No, the Ben and Betty thing was kind of whatever. Commander really bugs me, just in general.
But did she bug you more in this episode than in others that makes it lose half
in some, yes.
Okay.
Like this episode, there's a handful of episodes. Anytime it comes to like a rule where she's just like, I made the rule, listen to me. I'm like, I don't like her in any of even if she resolves it, which she kind of did in this, I'm like, you're still, I don't like you. So, and also because like we said, it's a good episode. I'm also taking into account it's a mid-season finale. For mid-season finales, it's a B.
I'm not taking that into account at all.
As a mid-season finale, it's a B.
Okay.
As a general episode of Beast Morphers Season 2, it is an A-.
I'm giving it an A. No
I
qualifiers.
know you are.
No qualifiers. It's an A.
That's
fine. That's one of my favorite episodes so far.
I wouldn't say it's up there, and it has some of my favorite moments. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites so far.
I'm specifically saying it's one of my favorites, not it's one of the best. And that's an important distinction because there are certainly better episodes that forward the plot or that have technical achievements or things like that. But me personally, it had a lot of steel. It had awesome motorcycle riding Zords. It had a lot of Zoe and Nate stuff, which I've been wanting to see. So like it hit a lot of things that I personally liked and cared about. And it was a good episode. So, yeah. That being said, we got to wrap this up. So, to the power.
To the power. See you guys later.
See ya. I will do end credits. There's the end credits. One hour and 10 minutes right now.
Okay. Finales are usually longer.
I know. We've been trying to keep these to 45 minutes, and they've been creeping into an hour. And
I think this is the most arguments we've ever had on an episode of Season 2.
Yeah, you're right. Because Season 1 we argued a lot more, but like we seem to be on the same page. Mostly because Season 2 has been better, I think, consistently. But all right, well, that's the end of the credits, and goodbye to your face.